I'm not going to give up the coach right now, but I sent out this. We're going to get back to the games, but I did this whole thing about, and it's not just Shaka Smart. Shaka Smart being on the court was what prompted me to be like, all right, this happens so regularly. I'm just going to finally write about this. I got a coach sending me. I've had coaches sending me videos of other coaches doing this now. Like, yeah, thank you for writing the story. This keeps happening here. I think this coach might be watching the pod in real time as well.
Like with Shaka, and we all love Shaka. But like,
yeah, and frankly,
what he did, the clip that went viral, like might have really impacted the play.
I think it did, and that was part of why I wrote it. Again, I don't want to get too off track from the games tonight, but yeah, it was, and frankly, because Shaka, will readily admit when he did wrong, and I knew that if there was someone who could handle that, it was him. Made it all the more reason why. I mean, I call out other coaches a lot of coaches do this. It's absurd. But in writing this, what you really find out is that, and no coach is 100% innocent of this, but this has actually been a topic for years that like really gets under coach's skin and like is really like, it's like a borderline boiling issue. And yet the officials just aren't doing anything about it. Like you can give them warnings. You're supposed to give them warnings. You can give them technical fouls. And yet for whatever reason, it's just not happening. But you and I both know like this, it is a regular occurrence where coaches are stepping onto the court. And I'm not talking your guys are at the other end and you're shouting out to defensive command. I'm talking the ball is on your side of the floor and you've got your entire foot out into the playing surface. It's completely ridiculous, man. The court's not that big, and I understand the bench size. The size of the bench and the depth between the out-of-bounds line and the bench is not that big. But yeah, this maybe writing something like that will finally curb the behavior. But it's outrageous. What do you want me to say?
Well, think about all the things you see coaches do in college that you would never see them do in the NBA.
I thought about that, and I trimmed so it wouldn't be a longer read, GP, but I was like, I'm not even going to get into the court report. I did it for you, but you never see this at the NBA level ever.
Well, in the NBA, you're not going to see coaches very often, like in the face of a player, yelling at a player. You see it every day in college basketball, every day. You rarely will see that in the NBA because coaches know you can't talk to another adult like that. College coaches, for whatever reason, think you can, but professional coaches know, like that's a grown man. I'm not going to talk to him that way. All right. So there's that. The way coaches talk to the officials, frankly, the way you just tell me, I don't want to, who's the face of yelling at officials in college basketball right now?
Okay. And then we'll get back to the games of the night. The face of yelling at officials in the sport. Chat. Chime in. Let's see what you say. I'm looking at standings here. The face of yelling at officials. I would say Dan Hurley's in the top 5. I would say I'm looking.
Fran McCaffrey. It seems to be
McCaffrey is number 1. You just got the answer. I'm scrolling through it. And then that is an earned reputation, even if it doesn't happen every single night. Fran McCaffrey. His best, if you will, or his worst can beat anyone else's best or worst.
So the way you see Fran McCaffrey, basically every game, just lose his mind. Like that's not something you would see in the NBA very often.
Chad is just rolling with Fran mentions.
And then this, you wouldn't see NBA coaches. Like imagine for a second, like picture Greg Popovich on the court with his arms out, like he's in a defensive stance, like he's trying to deny passing lanes. Like you just don't see that.
I know.
And the reason you see it in college is because coaches are just like 5-year-olds. They'll do whatever you'll let them do. They'll do whatever you'll let them get away with. I have 2 young kids, just like you have 2 young sons. If I do not tell them to take a shower, they won't. They don't have any interest. They don't care that they stink. They don't care that they look dirty. If I do not say, no, you don't have a choice in this matter, not taking a shower is not an option, then they would just not take a shower. If you don't tell kids every day that you have to brush your teeth before we leave for school, they're fine not brushing their teeth. You tell kids you can lay in bed all night and look at an iPad. They will lay in bed all night and look at an iPad until they fall asleep or until it goes dead. You know how you put a stop to this stuff? You just tell coach you can't do that. Hey, you're out on the court. That's a technical foul. Don't do it again or you'll have to leave.
Yeah.
You just have to draw the line, just like you're a parent. Coaches are trying to get away with whatever you let them get away with, so stop it. Hey, you can't talk to me like that. That's a technical foul. Don't say that again or you'll have to leave. Hey, you can't step on the court like that. Don't do it again, or it'll stop just like that. You throw Shaka Smart, and I don't mean to make it just about Shaka Smart because you're right, it's not just him. But if Shaka Smart gets in a defensive stance in the middle of a game on the court, and you double tech him and get him out, he won't do it again. That'll be it. That'll be it's an easy lesson to teach. You just have to be willing to do it. And
yeah,
for whatever reason, they're not willing to do it.
the fish, and as I readily meant in the copy, like, it is hilarious. Like, looking at Shaka doing this, like, it's at the same time like completely inappropriate because you're not a player, my man. But it is so funny to watch the Sean Woods, who coached at Southern last year. I linked it up in the story. There's one that's even more egregious from last year, and you get this all the time. Ultimately, a couple officials I spoke with said it's completely a leadership issue. It's on the refs to call it. It's on the director of officiating at the league level to hold their officials more accountable, and then to get in contact with the coaches. And obviously the Big East reach out to Shaka and say, hey man, like, you can't keep doing this. But commissioners got to lay down the law. People are just they've been sidestepping the issue, and now we're at this point. Let's just not have a thing where this continues to linger, and then it costs or it swings the result one way or the other in an NCAA tournament game. Because then it's like, what the hell are we doing here? But yeah, we've got plenty of names in the chat where people have been mentioning that. It's an ongoing thing. Again, not a plague, but it just happens way too much. And I'd like to see it eradicated from the sport.